I'm basically asking to be cancelled off the internet. Now, just making a video like this, criticizing one of the most acclaimed games of 2020, is enough of a catalyst to be hated on the internet. But doing it to Animal Crossing?
Your Honor, Animal Crossing has flaws.
Death.
So, I'm gonna be pulling some punches for the sake of preserving some of the respect I might have had, but this is still going to be a serious review, and it'll be structured along these lines. Please don't destroy me. So I wanted to disclaim that this is actually my first Animal Crossing, and that's actually a bit weird because historically I've really liked sim games. Minecraft, Terraria, and The Sims were games I definitely played the heck out of and really enjoyed, and I was always a huge fan of Nintendo with the DS, Wii, and 3DS. It's honestly a little weird they ended up skipping out on this series during all these consoles, but what do you expect from an 8, 10, and 13-year-old boy to ask for his parents for Christmas or his birthday? I was only allowed to get the good stuff. Wait, that looks off. Yeah, that's better.
This game blows!
Anyway, going into this game was amazing at first. The hype everyone shared before launch was really fun to experience, and Animal Crossing delivered very well at first. Most of the strength for the game's appeal comes from its sense of progression that it rewards its players. It's a completely relaxing getaway from reality that came at a perfect time for me and, well, a lot of people. Look, it's Animal Crossing. The core and new mechanics were introduced fairly coherently, and it gave you objectives to complete daily as well as work toward the long term with the Nook Miles app. The sense of progression in the early game is absolutely nailed. It was very rewarding playtime, and for a slow game such as Animal Crossing, having that is absolutely essential. The complementary gameplay throughout its progression system and how much you were allowed to express yourself through your island was just genius. Having the freedom of choice is a necessary component to the genre, and I really could do whatever I wanted given the time. Making my way up to the top of my island was exhilarating. Finally being able to explore the rest of my island and create ideas for it was the most enthralling experience I had had all March. The game's atmosphere was something I don't even think I've ever experienced before. The music was absolutely excellent and perfectly matches the atmosphere of the game and adds so much to its appeal. Sometimes I would just set my character on a hammock, plug in some headphones, and just lay in my bed and listen.
I can say with solid confidence that this was many people's replacement for therapy, including mine.
Now, this section is basically over, and it hasn't even been 2 minutes, but if you've played Animal Crossing, you know how good the game really is. It's hard for me to put into words without being uber repetitive that Animal Crossing New Horizons is really a good game, and I wholeheartedly believe that. Every good thing about this game has been said 100 times over, and it's for a really good reason. Now I gotta tell you why this game sucks. Core mechanic delivery was a huge problem I had with this game. In a game that gives you so much freedom and creativity, random, deeply important systems that the game has are just not told to you at all. There are multiple instances of core mechanics of the game being left up to the internet to discover, and that is not something a simulator game should do. The main one I had a problem with was villagers, and this isn't a problem of villagers repeat dialogue and get kinda boring, better villagers update. No, I bet those fuckers haven't even touched Tomodachi Life, a real Chad's game. The main problem is villager invitations and removal. The game offers no information about both of these mechanics, and when you're playing a game about customization, the people you live with are indescribably important. Let's break it down. During the beginning of the game, before you really get a chance to know your villagers, the game gives you the option to talk to Isabelle about villagers, and gives you the dialogue option, you have a problem with a villager. Which, if you're me, who has seen other Animal Crossing games like New Leaf where that's how villagers were removed, you'd assume that's the villager removal process, right? Also, keep in mind, this is the very beginning 3 or 4 days of the game, and none of the information on how to remove them was set in stone. Well, later, after getting my island to almost terraforming, I realized I don't particularly like any of my villagers except for one, and I'm ready to start customizing them. So I go into the option to try it, and it's about changing their fucking clothes. I ended up completely restarting my file because of this. The process of villager removal wasn't mainstreamed by the game, and the game left it up to the players to find the most effective ways to go about it. By the time I pulled the trigger on my decision, information on the subject was extremely scarce, and most of it was completely wrong. The real problem with the system was that it was complicated and completely unintuitive. Execution of it was extremely and unnecessarily lengthy. The game didn't give you any information on the system to begin with, and it actively restricts your freedom and creativity. All of these problems can be seen in different areas of the game as well, only crafting one thing at a time, not being able to access your home's materials while crafting in it, declining villagers in the campsite or only being able to buy turnips on Sunday mornings, and having a low max amount of bridges and inclines. These 4 issues can be seen throughout many other parts of the game as well, and only through the process of restarting my island during the information drought could I have realized it. I was determined to find villagers I would enjoy, so I RNG grinded for 2 hours until I found villagers I wanted to start it with. I played almost all the way up to where I was before I restarted until logging off for my final time. It took me a fairly long time to figure out why I didn't enjoy my second playthrough of the game, and it's because the second time through, the magic and creativity of my first time playing Animal Crossing was gone. On my first island, I thought I'd be able to do anything, move anything, customize anything, and overall, I thought I could take the game at my own pace to learn what was going on, and that restrictions would be explained and lifted given time. And they were. My second playthrough, I wasn't as ignorant to its systems, however. I was hyper-focused on doing things right and efficiently now that I knew what was restricted, what wasn't, what can't be helped, what takes too much time, etc. I tried to take it at my own pace, but Animal Crossing pulled back and slowed me down as much as they could. It just seriously reeked of problematic pacing and unattachment issues. Crafting stuff for the second time to find what I had in my old house felt like it took forever, and I felt no attachment doing it again despite having different wallpapers in all my rooms and a totally new layout. It might have been because there weren't many options I could change in my house that I didn't do the first time. There wasn't much to do differently because your options of expression are so limited with the small amount of household furniture you're allowed to craft. The Animal Crossing dev team was most likely shooting for a goal of attachment through them making you craft your own items in your house to compensate for its lack of variety in your options for furniture. This works very well in a first playthrough like I said earlier, but when you've already done it once, you want something different, and it totally breaks the immersion of attachment the game created. This really deeply contrasts most sim genres. In Minecraft, I built probably 1 trillion similar houses, and loved every one of them because there's always so many little things about a house in Minecraft that you can change to make it look just the way you want to at any point in your adventure. The creativity it allows its players to express vastly overgoes its shortcomings in terms of its blocky building limits. In Minecraft, you're limited by the effort you're willing to put into what you want to make, but in Animal Crossing, you're limited by the amount of furniture you're allowed by the game to craft and the amount of time you're willing to dump to hurdle the many obstacles the game throws at you to earn the ability to do what you want. Another problem I ran into through playing it a second time was its reward system. In Animal Crossing, it uses a system of, once you get it, you're done, but you can't do blank until you do this too. The game turned from a relaxing getaway to an uncountable chore list with this weird pressure to get things done so that I could have the restrictions lifted to express myself better. With once you get it, you're done, rediscovering fish wasn't as fun the first time, and there was never a solid reward system outside of the 1 Nook Miles achievement and your Critterpedia to incentivize it. And in terms of, you can't do blank until you do this, I couldn't place my bridges where I wanted because I didn't have terraforming yet, and knew now that I would have to go through the long process of changing them once I was able to. As I played, I realized that I didn't like my island as much, and it was because it was clear how restrictive the game really was. It felt like a completely new claustrophobic, grindy mess of a game, and I had to ask myself, did you really have fun doing all that before putting it down for the last time? But oddly enough, I realized through playing it a second time that Animal Crossing wasn't about the endgame and having a cool island. It's about the experiences you have, making your way to where you want to be, or stopping to smell the roses, getting distracted every 10 seconds, and doing whatever. For contrast, in your first playthrough, progression in the game is intentionally slow, as to give you an idea to what the mechanics are, give you time to digest your island, and come up with ideas to make it yours. But when you already know what the restrictions are and what's possible, a huge disconnect occurs. The restrictions feel completely overblown, and it goes against the genre's ideals and what the game is trying to accomplish. The game looks like it wants you to feel free and do whatever you want, but really it actively restricts so many aspects of the game that it never really feels like you're going to get back to where you wanted to be, even when you're already there. The game actively controls the pace at which you're allowed to progress in the game, with its power it has to waste your time with meaningless tasks, which throws us to the game's core design. Animal Crossing is a slow game. Like I said before, progression in the game is intentionally slow as to give you an idea to what the mechanics are, give you time to digest your island, and come up with ideas to make it yours. But this is also the framework for every design aspect of the game. The game takes its sweet time in just about every corner it can.
And when I say every corner, I mean every corner. In fact, let's do a quick speedrun of how long it takes to start up the game. Hey, what's up YouTube? Today we're going to do the Animal Crossing load the game, the speedrun percent. I got my splits on the screen. We're going to load the game as fast as possible. Let's fuck it. Let's get into this.
Yep. Oh, here it is. Alright, boys. Can't wait to get into this 5.1.1 impersonate right away. Alright, game was already loaded, so it probably shouldn't take that long. Yep, like I said, game was already loaded on the title screen. You can see villagers around. It probably shouldn't take as long as it did to load the title screen. There is an island, guys. It's right there. Yep. That's an island. It's bouncing.
Is my Switch fucking broken? What the hell is going on?
Alright, we're off to a good start. Okay, cool. Alright, okay. Watch this stupid fucking cutscene. Yo, no phone call? Oh, load. Oh, here we go. Oh, shit. Oh, no. Oh, it's fucking... Let me out of this fucking dialogue. Okay. Round two, motherfucker. Hey, shut the fuck up, I'm fun. Let me go. Oh, yep, yes, I do have a Nook Miles ticket on me. Oh, I want to use it. No, I don't. Okay, yeah, I want to use it. Okay. Speedrun! Time for takeoff. Gotta watch this stupid fucking, yep.
Yo, there's a little icon in that corner there now. Yo, what the fuck?
The pacing issues in this game aren't just limited to load times, it's a deep-rooted issue that plagues many of its progression systems. For example, let's talk about the bridge building mechanics. For a tutorial, they stick you with a crappy-looking log bridge that, as you progress on your island, begins to look more and more out of place. So eventually you make the decision to replace it, and you get stuck in a 3-day cycle of just worrying about this one bridge. It makes you ask yourself the question, why do you have to destroy a bridge to build a new one? Because in its current system, it takes me 3 consecutive days to destroy the log bridge that the game sticks you with from its tutorial. One to talk to Tom Nook and pay the demolition fee, another for it to be destroyed and set up a new bridge and pay for its full price replacement, and one more so I can actually walk across it. It's just too long. Why not just add a bridge upgrade system? That way it would only take 1 day so we wouldn't have to wait for it to be destroyed and wait for it to be paid off and wait for it to be finished. Almost every system in this game just takes too much time. Just look at how many frames it takes to pick up an item before I can act again. That's 58 fucking frames. I have 40 trees in my farm, so if you multiply that, it'll take me 116 seconds or 2 minutes just to pick them all up, not counting all the frames it takes to shake the trees or run around and grab them. Nothing feels snappy in this game, and nothing lets you get back into the game fast. Everything feels sluggish. Doing the most basic of tasks feels like they take too long. Load times to get into a tent or a house, sitting through what feels like years of dialogue just to use a Nook Miles ticket, or just starting up the game tests my patience every time I open it. In video games, patience is the illusion of difficulty, and testing patience just makes you wait to play more of the game. Does this make Animal Crossing the hardest game of all time? Well, just observe this video of Sloan playing the game for the first time trying to aim her net to catch a moving object. Try to tell me Doom Eternal is harder than this. I dare you! Animal Crossing pulls on my dog leash to stop me from progressing as much as I want to at the pace I want to from every angle, and it's absolutely this game's biggest setback. The game wouldn't suffer from features like picking up all the fruits from a tree at once, faster animations on fishing and picking up items, a feature showing you what square you're aiming at when using a shovel or a net, crafting multiple things at once. When your game is built to mimic the aesthetic of quality of life, having next to zero fucking quality of life shortcuts in the game make the experience seem lackluster. That's probably the #1 thing that I got stuck on writing the script. When you have a game where the driving force of activity in the game is the player's creativity, it's almost completely common to throw the player into it as close to as blind as possible. But the masterpieces of the genre are the games where you can know almost everything about the game and still have the time of your life playing through it. Let's compare it to my favorite game on the Switch, Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild lets you go free and do whatever you want, whenever you want. Its limits are heavily blurred, because the game doesn't tell you anything besides the basics, but it pushes you to discover something intended to be found because you got curious about a mechanic. It's magical. You're creating memories because you are rewarded for pushing the boundaries of the game that you didn't know the boundaries of. New Horizons does the opposite. It blurs the lines of its limits because it doesn't want to show you them, and instead it wants to distract you from the lines it blurs with the toys they have inside the box. New Horizons actively discourages you to think outside of its box. Just look at money trees. If you plant one with the guaranteed 1,000 bells, you're guaranteed 3,000 bells. Cool. What if I upped the amount of bells I buried? Well, if you go anywhere from 1001 to 9099, there's only a 30% chance you'll get your bells tripled. The other 70% of the time, you'll get a 3,000 bell return regardless of how much you planted. It's the same math for 10,000 to 99,000, by the way. There are absolutely no hints given by villagers and other NPCs about this, and the only reason this strategy is known is due to player discovery using Google spreadsheets and time skipping. If I had just tried that by myself and I'd gotten one of the 70% turns one of the time, I would have never tried it again without that knowledge that you should plant 10,000 every time. There are plenty of more systems like this in Animal Crossing, and they actively discourage player discovery and limit player interaction with the world that the player is responsible for taking care of. Both games are fueled by the nature of discovery of the game's mechanics and the creativity it allows its players to express. The point of comparing Breath of the Wild to Animal Crossing New Horizons is that in Breath of the Wild, I can do whatever I want, whenever I want, at whatever pace I want to. In Animal Crossing New Horizons, the game is stuck at a specific pace that I have no control over, and I have to submit to the game's will of when I'm allowed to play certain parts of the game, and when I'm not. Like I said in the intro, Animal Crossing is a fantastic game, and I still believe that. The game does a million things right, and its appeal is proof of that, but for me, the game doesn't prevail despite its flaws to make it that perfect game we all want it to be. The shine of the game doesn't cover up what could have been otherwise, and the flaws of the game consistently bring down the experience I might have had despite it. But does this still make Animal Crossing a bad game? Hell no. It's still an 8 out of 10 in my books, and I very much look forward to future updates that could bring me back into the game. The million things it does right is enough for some people, and hell, it was enough for me to play through the game twice. Looking at the massive success of the game, being as flawed as it is, proves how much raw potential the series still has going forward. I personally can't wait for the future of this game, and I hope you all are too.
Wow, it's been a long time since I've done one of these. Anyway, thank you guys so much for checking out this video. If you liked it, I would really appreciate it if you dropped a like or a sub, and if you really liked it, sharing the video will really help me out because I spent a lot of time on this video. Making this video was insanely fun to do. I've never done a review before, and playing Animal Crossing really made me want to make a review about it. It was just such a great game, and it was so fun to play and so fun to come up with ideas for review. It was just all around such a good time. I actually uploaded sneak peeks of these videos to my Discord and my Twitter, so if you guys want to see sneak peeks of those consistently, you guys can follow me over there. Links will be in the description. And I've also started a podcast with my friend Chris, so if you want to check that out, link will be at the end of the video for those. Anyway, again, thank you guys so much for watching this video, liking, subscribing, sharing, everything, and I hope to see you next month with an even better video. Peace out.